So we actually started using EnjoyHQ when our first marketing person joined, which was somewhere in the beginning, like a first quarter of 2020, the crazy year, right? And the thing was, till then, it was just me and my co-founder. We were quite small company. We're still small company. We're Atlassian marketplace partner. So basically what we do is we develop small apps for Jira. So we help people like improve how they deliver work in Jira with our planning apps. And the thing was that we didn't have the marketing person till then. It was just me and my co-founder. And you know how that goes when you're just two and you go very fast, the information is getting lost. And when you need to onboard a new person, it's really hard to get them up to speed and running, to speak the same language, to understand the apps the same way you do. And our problem especially was that the information that we had from like all the demos and all the interviews with the customer and the feedback we were getting and the production support and everything was all over the place. So mainly the feedback was, the customer feedback was processed in Airtable. It was coming through like email or Zoom calls and we were just taking notes, or it was stored in Confluence as a pages. So it was just all over the place. So I can imagine you have a lot of customers like that. And then when the new person comes in, they just don't know where they should look and where is the latest information. And it's very difficult. So what we decided to do was we need to basically bridge this gap between the product and between the marketing, and made both sides, although it was just two people at that point, but it was still difficult to make them speak the same language and to really understand the apps, because the apps are technical. So the product manager, product marketing manager needs to know what the product is in order to talk about it, because otherwise it's just empty words, right? So we decided we need to like identify these like a hot button, these key pain points, and then we will go from there. And that's where the EnjoyHQ basically came in. So we took all that feedback which we had and we put it in the EnjoyHQ and we started processing. So I don't know if you would like to know a little bit more about that process.
Yes, I would love to know about which tools you connected, which ones you imported just as a file. What were the first things that you did? You went through all of them, like highlighting. Have you used rules for automation, or it's been mostly about the team looking at the data? Because even if you can automate things, sometimes it's just so much better at the beginning to literally go through everything, especially if you're building like new products and your small team. I remember when we started, and we still do that, you just have to look at it. You just have to look at the whole thing and highlight and comment and like I just go very deep in order to really connect those dots. But like, how you went about it?
Yeah, so we went this like a manual way. The thing is that we didn't have that many interviews with our customers that it would be impossible to go through everything. So we are not like a huge company like Atlassian where they get a gazillion of feedback and it would need to be hundreds of people looking at it for months. So for us, it wasn't that hard. But the thing was really like for Sarah, for our content manager, the marketing manager, to really understand what people are saying and what the problem is. So it was so useful for her to go through that feedback because that was just the way for her to get up to speed. So basically what we've done is we have 3 apps at the moment, but we are building a new one very, very soon. And so we have like feedback specific to all 3 apps, or in general to project and product management. Because when we do the interviews, people usually jump from one problem to another, and then it can be multiple apps solving this problem. So what we decided to do was to dump all feedback in and then go through everything and say, we used properties so we created like apps property, and it had values, which was the name of each of our app, which was Foxley, Octo, or Swanley, or like a general, which was like a general interview about product or project management. And we basically tagged this feedback, so then we could like filter it out, and then we could go deeper into the specific apps. So once we had this feedback like structured, Then we created like a project in EnjoyHQ, and we put the feedback in, just related to that one app based on that property. And then we went and we looked manually, basically through that feedback. It wasn't that much data. It could be like, 100 maximum, like for the biggest app. But it was like interviews, or it was something from the forum that we found that someone was complaining about. The thing about the Atlassian ecosystem is that even if you don't speak to people like directly, they complain a lot on forums, or they directly raise the feedback to Atlassian, and it's all public. So you can find these like Jira tickets that are public, complaining about this specific problem. Or usually it's a solution, but then you have like 200 comments of the customers under it complaining about that and wanting to share why they need it. So we basically take all of these sections, copy them into EnjoyHQ, and then we highlight what's relevant for that specific app, what sounds like a problem, what sounds like a solution, and we tag it, and then we go to analyze, and that's where we basically put it into the buckets. So the thing was, when we went through all of this feedback and we highlighted the interesting sections, then we needed to identify the hot buttons. So we needed to identify the problems. And the way we've done it was we basically created these columns, and we tried to like categorize all of these highlights. And then we looked at the groups of these highlights and said, well, this one is mostly around this problem. Like it can be this type of hot button, and this one can be this type of problem and this type of problem. And once we had it, we picked like the 3 main topics, and these are the like 3 main problems that we are marketing further with our app. And the way why our product marketing manager loved it so much was that it wasn't just the empty word, right? Usually it happens that when you come to some company, they give you these like guidelines about the product, and there's like efficiency and visibility, and you just look at it and like, what the hell is that? We have a similar words there, but the thing is that under this word, you have all this like actual feedback someone said, and you can like deeper understand why they're saying it, and you can drill down to that actual like a sentence and the context of that feedback. That helps us really, really a lot, especially when we write like content or social media posts, or we just try to create a completely new website for our apps, which we actually did after we triaged everything in EnjoyHQ. So basically what we've done was recreate all positioning of our apps after we went through all of this feedback triage with EnjoyHQ.
It's wonderful. Oh my God, you have no idea how happy it makes me to hear that, because we've done the same ourselves. Like at the very beginning and later when we rebranded and so on, we have gone through exactly the same kind of area, because we wanted to understand differentiation, right? Like because there were all these other competitors coming in and they were talking about the same things, and it's like, okay, but like it's going to be very hard for customers to see our website and see competitors' website, have a sense of what is that is different and what is that is important here, or how we are better in any way. And so for us, it was very similar. It was like going through not so much external because it's a new area, but it was about like a lot of like surveys and conversations and like feedback coming from intercom, from people, and just going through it. And you're right, you start understanding like words that are very generic, like visibility, for example, that we have as part of our core proposition, like what that actually means, right? So you have to talk about it, of how actually visibility means. So it's like, see what other team members are doing. It's something that somebody can understand more than visibility. And then beyond that, stop repeating the same projects because you don't know what people are doing. And so that is even deeper into that. So you get to the point where you are using just the language of customers, and people can relate to that so much. And we got a lot of leads coming to us that literally converted, and they said, like, your website literally says everything that is in my head. And that made me so happy, because it's like, yes, that's what we wanted. And so Of course, the product needs to match all that stuff, because if your product doesn't match that, just no matter how great your messaging is, you still have a different battle. But I'm so happy that you guys did the same, because it does work, and you kind of have to do it like, I don't know how often I would recommend to do that. But if it's working, it's working. But it is easy to evolve the product and forget to do that again. And then you are talking with things that are not relevant anymore, at least not as much. So are you thinking, like, you have any idea where would you do that type of exercise for positioning in the future? Do you think your apps will change dramatically, or perhaps there is just now optimization from now on?
Yeah, so definitely know what you mean. It took a little bit of time. So we are actually about to do it again with one of our apps. So what happened was we had this app Swanley that was mainly built to solve the problems around release management. So a lot of customers and a lot of feedback which we collected over the time was around the release management, and also all positioning was done around that. Now the problem was that we actually evolved the app, and now it's a project management app. So it's not a release management app anymore. And all the feedback which we actually have from the customer is just about release management. There's nothing about project management, because we have no project management customers, or very, very little. So the thing is, now we need to reposition it. And the way how we are going about it is to collect, again, feedback from the other places and from the interviews which we had with actual project managers and project portfolio managers, and use it to market and to create these hot buttons again. And then we would need to collect the feedback from our actual customers and tweak it a little bit. So there's going to be this process again, but yeah, it's going to be like a big change in the app, obviously.
Got it. It's exciting, right? When you can write stuff with confidence, when you know that what you're writing on the marketing side or in the content and so on, it comes from reality, like they will resonate with people. I remember that not only the impact that had in terms of positioning, but of course that affects revenue, right? Right away, you start having people that ask less questions at the very beginning, and they commit more into the trial, and they commit more into paying, because it's a coherent narrative, as opposed to like kind of knowing what the app does, but then joining and trying to figure it out. Like that gap is so dangerous for software companies, to not have people clear on what the app is going to do. And then you have to do a good job with the product as well. But just having that initial piece of setting the expectations for what people are signing up is huge. And we really notice ourselves a change on, subscriptions and conversion to trial to pay. Like things started getting like really, really nice after that. It took a while for sure, because you need all the traffic to come in and see what are the changes. So it takes many months for you to really say, oh, this really worked, because it's not magical. But I knew that we were going the right direction anyway, because you can never go wrong when you are using your customer's language. There's no way that you can go wrong there. So have you, apart from this clarity that you gain by doing that analysis, how else this data has helped? Because you talk about it from a positioning and marketing perspective. Have that help with product development too, or is a different focus?
Yeah, so the app we mainly use for this like a marketing purposes, because that was the biggest problem which we had at the time. The product development as well. So if we do like a research, initial research for a new application or a new significant big feature, then we do it in EnjoyHQ. If it's because we don't so the amount of the customers which we have currently is like a 580 for our biggest apps. It's like installations in Jira, and then we have around 350 for our second biggest apps, which is prioritization. So the amount of the feedback, as you can imagine, from the actual customers we get is not that huge. So the small improvements that they ask for, which are obvious, like some UX issues, we fix immediately. It doesn't go like through EnjoyHQ, like the whole process. But yes, for example, now we are researching a completely new app. And we do that in EnjoyHQ. So we pull all the data in and we create like a new project there. And then I can actually share like a report with our developers. And they really liked it. I put like these quotes in, like, which someone actually said that were like very, very strong. Like why is it so painful, for example, to spend so much time on grooming meetings when there's 20 people and they like argue for 4 hours about what's the priority, right? So that was something big, and they were like, oh yeah, so this is why I need to build it. That makes sense. So that's one side. The other side, when you were mentioning with the actual conversions and how it had impact to retention of our customers. So again, it's related to the messaging. So when we were doing all of this process for one of our apps, where it happened to be very successful, the app is Foxley, and it's focused on the prioritization of your backlog, the work prioritization, basically. And the thing that we noticed was we basically started already with this process. So it wasn't like with Swanly, the other app, where something was already in a place and we needed to like redo everything, you know. So there's a lot of to tweak there. But in this one, we tried to do everything from scratch and right since the beginning. And the app is really like performing really well. It does have a really big conversion rate.
Awesome.
We identified quite good like differentiators from our competitors, because it's quite interesting space to be in, the prioritization, because especially when you're just like app in Jira, because people usually might say like, oh, I don't need app for that. I can just do that in Excel or in, you know, somewhere. Airtable. Everyone is using it, Airtable. So you can do it in Airtable, right? But when you really like explain why it's so great that it's integrated in Jira and they don't need to use these third-party tools, even like a third-party prioritization tools, like you can do that in Jira with your actual Jira tickets. That's such a strong statement, and it came from these like interviews. And when we used it like in our marketing, then it really helped with that conversion, and like people are just happy with that app, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's super cool. That's awesome. And so how like is that mostly who uses the app? Is the entire team? Is some people depending on the research that is happening? Yeah, and I think we didn't talk about it, but have you got any integrations into Enjoy, or is mostly uploading directly?
So I'm mostly uploading directly. I wanted to connect it to the service desk, but I never got to it, so I need to do that. We use Jira like very heavily because we are Atlassian developer company. So we will definitely connect to service desk. I just did not do that. But basically, all of our customers are going to us through Jira Service Management. How is it called now? Not Jira Service Desk. So we would definitely do that. Otherwise, no. I quite a lot use that new transcription functionality. I do enjoy that. I have a different use case for it than you might expect.
Oh, tell me.
So we basically have these like a weekly podcasts with my co-founder, and we are basically using it to transcribe the podcast. I just do like an edit and then I copy it to our blog. So it's not really for the research, but that transcription works so well that we use it for that.
I'm gonna tell you a secret. We also do that ourselves. I will use our transcription to get this interview transcribed too. So it's gonna be fine. That's the whole point, right? That you shouldn't have limitations. So you should be able to just save time. So sometimes it's gonna be for research, sometimes it's gonna be for other things, but it's just about like saving time and being productive with the work. So that's fine. You can use it for everything. It's okay.
I was hoping I'm not going to get banned that I'm uploading these like a long podcasts over there, but it's just once per week, so I hope it's not too.
We'll send an email to all the customers like, yeah, Nikki is doing this, and this is why we're gonna cancel. No, it's gonna be good. So I'm very glad. So what would you advise to people that maybe, they are starting the journey as entrepreneurs, maybe they have a small company, a growing company, and normally feel that it's just too much time to do research and too much time to like quantify things and so on, because I do remember the early years for me as well. Like, it's hard. It's really hard to take the time when you have pressure for so many things that needs to happen and areas to step back and look at it. But every time we did it, and we did it in depth, it was such a kind of transformative thing, because we have all this clarity across so many decisions, product decisions, marketing decisions, and so on. So it felt really good, but it took a lot of time. What would you tell to other founders and other people, that even just people working in marketing and positioning other companies? Like, what would you suggest to do? What advice will you give them if they have this mentality? Oh, that's too much time. I can't do it.
I would say it definitely takes much more time to fix it afterwards. So I would definitely recommend doing it from the beginning. I can see it on our example where, for example, with Foxley, we've tried to do everything right, especially research around the messaging since the beginning was much more easier. With Swanley, we are still battling. Like, it's not as easy as it is to change something on already existing product and existing messaging, and you need to update across so many things. So if you think you're going to save time not doing research, then you're actually going to waste more time fixing it a little bit later. And not even the time, not just time, it's also money. Like, it's so much money. They're just flowing and you're losing them because you're not messaging right to the people. So I would definitely recommend doing it and try to do it right since the beginning. The problem is, I think, with people thinking, oh, it's too much time, it's too heavy, I don't have time for that, I'm just going to blast some message, on the website, and that's it. It's not that hard. Like, you just need the right tool, right? Like, when we, for example, tried to do all of this research in Airtable or in Excel or in Confluence, the problem with these tools is that they're way too flexible. It allows you to do everything. So you need to have very, very clear picture in your head what you want to do and what you want to achieve. And you also need to understand how to do research. But honestly, like, who really knows, like, what exactly to do step by step? So with these products, like, for example, EnjoyHQ, but also other products that do research, it's good that they guide you, on the right path. So it tells you, first, you need to have a feedback, obvious step, right? Then you need to categorize that feedback. And here is a beautiful board where you can do it. And it's not anymore just like these rows in the Excel sheet where you just look at it and you don't know, and you get a panic attack and then just close the laptop. So it like really guides you nicely step by step through what you should do. And it's not going to take you that much time, and definitely less time than you would then spend fixing it.